So where did Stefon come from?
Stefon came from two people. John Mulaney, who I read it with, he had gotten an email from somebody talking about a club, and the email was kind of that rhythm of those update features. It was like the Mad Libs version. This club has everything, a room full of broken glass. Blah, blah, blah. It's that thing of like blah, 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 blah. And then I had met a guy at a barista at a coffee shop in Chelsea that I would walk in every day, and he would serve me my coffee.
And you were taking notes?
I would just draw him out, yeah.
Because
I just thought he was an interesting guy.
I knew that story. So how would you draw him out?
I would say, he would go, like, just make like a noise, like, I go, oh, what's going on, man? What's going on with you, you know? And he would say, I mean, I'm not, like, really good at it. I'd be a terrible spy. I'm like, what are your secrets? And he said, oh, you know, my mom is staying with me right now, and it's really hard. And he was talking about, and he did say, I live on the lower east side.
Lower.
Yeah. And I went, oh, okay.
Oh, man, and you're writing it down in your head.
Yeah, in my head. And then and then I went to John. I go, oh, I met this guy. Oh, you talk like that. And then he goes, well, I got this thing. And he was the one that really put those together. We tried to do it as a piece, an actual sketch, and it never worked. There was too long of a walk to getting to what the piece was about, what the comedy was. It was like me and Ben Affleck were brothers, and we used to write movies together, but now I've been lost, and now I've come back, and we write kids' movies, but I'm Stefon, and it was us pitching this, you know. So just explaining it now, it's like, okay, there's like 5 steps. And Doug Abels and Seth Meyers, Doug Abels ran Update at the time, said, why don't you do it on Update and you just go right to camera and just get to the funny part. And we were like, oh, that's a good idea.
It works.
Yeah, and it worked great. It really surprised us. Yeah.
When you do an impression, whoever it is, whether it's me or whether it's somebody bigger, what do you look for? Something you can, a gesture or a voice or...
Yeah, it's Jim Downey, the writers of the show. It says handles, like certain people have handles that you can grab onto and go, ooh, that's. Those old actors always have big, this, you know, certain rhythm of their speech, or they just have big handles, you know. And you know, you specifically, when I watch Charlie Rose, I watched and I'm a big fan of the show. And you have 2 rhythms, which is the opening rhythm when you introduce something.
Right.
It's like tonight on the program, Martin Scorsese is a merry man, you know. And then when you get into the actual interview, it slows down.
Yeah.
And I also notice when you have a book or something, you always go like that.
Like this. Yeah.
You never pick it up like that.
You don't ever know
this book. And you also say things that I like, which is someone will come on, like the guys, I don't know, the Twitter guys will come on, they'll say, well, here's what we're gonna do, and you'll go, why? Or, and what is that? And I'm like, exactly. Yeah. What is that? I didn't understand what they just said.
I've fooled a lot of people just by asking, what?
What?
And what does it mean?
Yeah. And what does that mean? Yeah. Now, what do you do? And it's very, so I go, okay, there's those 2 different rhythms, and then we figure it out. And then John Mulaney, we did it once, I think on the show with, I think it was like with Rupert Murdoch and Ariana Huffington, and I think I said the music, your opening music was it's a little ditty called Sedona Samba.
Yes.
That's a John Mulaney joke. Yeah. We watch the show all the time, and so yeah, that was fun. But that's what I mean. You kind of find handles, like a rhythm to someone's speech, or just the way they talk. Fred Armisen and I talk about this sometime, where we sometimes don't hear what people are saying because you kind of just, that rhythm, you pay attention to that rhythm of speech or some gesture they have or whatever. And
Lorne is the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, he just knows, he understands that audience and understands what they want better than anybody. You know, you go, oh, they won't go for that. You go, really? And he's always right. Or he'll go, you want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is
take it here, but then switch to here.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is logic. You know, I remember the first Vincent Price show. Some of it's
experience.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is just logic in the scene. You know, like the first Vincent Price sketch we ever did.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. The first Vincent Price sketch we ever did, he was just mean. He was Vincent Price from the all those Edgar Allan Poe movies.
Right.
He was just like a horrible person, and he was berating all the guests as they came in, and
Right.
and we thought it was funny, and we did it on Wednesday, and people laughed, and we thought it was great. This is my 6th show or something, and then we get a phone call Friday night at midnight. Lauren wants to see you, and we went in, and Lauren
Friday night at midnight.
Yeah, because I'm reading this, and why would anybody go on this show if he's just going to scream at them? Why would anybody go on this show if they're just going to yell at him? We're like, well, because it's funny, and He's like, no, this has to be like, he's trying to have a good show, and these people are messing it up, so they have something to play, and you have something to play, and it has a logic to it. And it was like, right.
Logic. Yeah,
Thank you, sir. And he was right, and suddenly it became way easier to write,
Right.
and everyone had something fun to do. Where before it was that thing I was saying before, where it was just people watching you be funny, which I always felt was my problem. I mean, Lorne, the thing that's nice about Lorne, and it's very rare, is that the guy at the top of the food chain is really, really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And was a writer, and understands comedy. And he's surrounded himself with these other people who are really, really funny. So you're just answering to people who understand comedy. They at least understand what you're going for. And Lauren's a guy who's seen every joke. So he's going, yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah. And you're going, okay.
We did that in 19.
Yeah. Bill Murray did that in 77. But, you have that happen.
That's just what you want to hear.
Yeah, but then he surrounds himself with, very talented, like Seth Meyers and Tina Fey and people like
Seth
that.
was chief writer. Is he still chief writer or not?
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
So you got to need a new chief writer over there too.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that could be big, can't it?
Yeah, it's a real big deal, and that's a hard job. I don't know how Seth does it, and he makes it look effortless. Yeah. Being the head writer, looking at everybody's pieces, doing update, and just being involved with everything, and always somehow being in a good mood. And Seth is the same kind of guy who can just easily just zero in on what's wrong with your piece.
Exactly what's wrong.
And most of it is logic.
Now, has Lorne ever said to you, you think that's funny?
Yeah, I'm sure. He doesn't have to. You'll be doing it at the table and you look up at him and he's just staring at you like, what? Why would we do this? Have you never seen the show? Have you ever met a human being before? I don't know. I think it's funny. And it's
you think this will be on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah,
have you really been here before?
Yeah.
Have you heard nothing?
Yeah, but that's the nice thing about Lorne is he'll go, if you fight for it, he'll go, well, let's try it at press.
Okay, we'll try. Yeah,
and see what happens. I mean, so many of those. If you look at Stefon, at least on paper, it's like a low-energy character, a kind of fringy character talking about things that probably don't exist, and it on paper should probably not work for like a bigger audience, but for some reason people liked it. Where I've tried to genetically, enhance some perfect SNL character, and it just always falls flat on its face.
Is anybody from the history of the show that you most try to identify with, that you identify with? You see something in their rhythm, their instinct, their sensibility that you feel closest to?
Well, probably Phil Hartman. He was the guy that growing up, Phil Hartman was the guy growing up that I really always liked. I loved Dana Carvey and Jan Hooks. That was my, group.
Yeah.
John Lovitz, Kevin Nealon, Nora Dunn, Victoria Jackson, all those people. But
it's almost like the generation before you come in, isn't it?
No, I mean they were 86. I mean it was 20. They were like 20 years before I showed up, and then But Phil Hartman, I always liked him because whatever scene he was in, he was just committed to making that part believable, and that didn't always mean that you had to be the funniest guy. I always think of this scene, the Matt Foley scene, the stuff with Chris Farley, the band down by the river, and he was the father in that scene. And Phil Hartman is just so committed, and him being committed made it really funny, where he's like, well, we've always encouraged his writing. And, you know what I mean? And it was just, he would make me laugh. And then he would do Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, where he was the lead, and it was hilarious. So he was kind of like I would watch that, and my dad would say, yeah, Chris Farley's funny, but watch Hartman. Like, look at what he's doing.